And I think you know what I mean, the ghost in the shell, like, was there something there even though there is not something there? Type of thing, so there's not, of course, we're at the highest level of intelligence. And that's another thing, life forms, things, my angels, when I create angels, I create my Khaleesi's, I create angels, the highest level of intelligence, we're at the height of everything. So, of course, our appearance in our intelligence is of the greatest of creation for life forms. And so life forms that, and I'm not just going to set limitations on them, and then they're not at the height. They're not. I didn't create them to be angels, so I created them. They have to live up to that. They can't. They go to that hell. So I have angels, and then they, of course, their understanding is one that they have a real consciousness, and then millions of years, and so to have a limitation on pondering is something that is a decent thing, depending on that angel, is a good thing, and that does not, they are and still they remain real consciousness while they have that limitations on pondering. So that's the difference it made. Like I said, of course, the greatness of being an angel, as well, and the greater intelligence than other life forms. And there are planets that are more intelligent than life forms of race of, they're more intelligent than life forms on other planets. And so, that's the way it is. So, and there are planets where there are far less life forms that go to hell. And then there is like I told about that planet where the whole planet went to hell. That's the way it is. You're not gonna all be the same, So I talked about what Sims and fake nesters have in common. And I go into that about the nothing. Okay, the spice. The details that further the understanding that this is our first time keep the experience of playing the game at a maximum level of awesomeness. So, of course, and of course you think, okay, well, while we're playing the game, we don't remember ever playing the game before. So how would that affect, and the thing is, you would think it wouldn't. You'd think it wouldn't. And so, and that's the thing, it's like, ain't that sacrificing some for the experience of the here and now with your day-to-day, all day, every day experience, and how, and that's the thing, is that the decrease of the difficulty is that we always agree that we would like it to be more, difficult and things, and people be like, but that's after the fact though. From after the fact, when we're in the high, then you got a whole different that you thinking and speaking from, a whole different experience that you speak, and that's the thing though. We go back and we watch these. And so it ain't just, it's just, okay, well, what are we gonna do different? Because those were all pretty much like, that one was like that one was like that one. You did that, it was like, but in watching them, it's like, the end, how you doing it is pretty much, it's like, it's getting, pretty routine in a few different ways, so how is it not going to be routine in a few different ways? It's like, lots of queens, and we all agree, it ain't broke, don't fix it. When we got, and so it's just like that, you can't believe it's not butter, but you better believe it. But you'd better believe it. You had better believe it, conjunction. You'd better believe it. The past tense, and then believe is present tense. That right there is so cold. It's like, I even, I was thinking about it, was how would I read, how would you have a different presentation of that idea and have it in a phrase for a product? That one is so cold, it's so cold to put it in a different way about something else that ain't butter, about something else. It's just, it's pretty hard to top that. So when I did come up with that one was so, it was so off the chain. It's just like you could keep saying it. You keep saying it. I keep posting, put that on there, and every time you read that shit gonna go hard. You gonna be like, damn, damn. He hit us with it again, boy. He's dropping them bombs. And you just read the words. You can't tell it ain't butter. But you better believe it. And it's a little butter inside of it. And a bomb. It's a butter bomb. You gonna see it every time and like, damn, man. And like, hey, you can't tell it's not butter. So it's like, man, it ain't even that wrong. You can't tell. You know what I'm saying? But shit, hey, I know it ain't though. I know it ain't. You know what I'm saying? So it's funny because they put the word butter being quotations, and I put nothing. Hey, like I said, the magic. And so, to say science and things like that, the science only has the, what I create, the science and technology to be capable of doing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do that. But I set the limitations on what it is doing. And so the simulation, like in a video game, how it's they're simulations. They're not people. They don't have a consciousness. And so there's a limited time that the individual personalities that represent each simulated appearance of a body is a certain time frame before it's gone, and then that's not even the same. So it's such a small window, and then you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So yeah, there is no, where that's not doing something into, it's going to be something coming about as to, and like I said, they're all monitored for some kind of, if there was some kind of anomaly of a spark coming about, that we monitoring them all day and night. And that ain't, and of course everything is already played out to where I already know, and and I take the time and start it back. So it's not where there's going to be something come about that hasn't happened, because I take everything back in time and it started. So yeah, the spice, it was necessary, this being the 100th, the 99th, those Khaleesi's that did the 99th, and they knew the 100th, it was going to be, something I did special, something different. They Khaleesi knew it was going to be more difficult though, and so that was the thing, is that there was Khaleesi's that didn't do the 99th, and it was they were all Khaleesi's that the most eldest Khaleesi's did want to go ahead and be on the 100th. They knew it was going to be more difficult. And then they was up for the challenge. So you had the eldest Khaleesi's all was going to want to be on one edition at the same time, and so that's how you see how that happened, like that. And so I did say that I did reveal that before I started this. Khaleesi Cynthia Mudgett is named the Gorgeousness. And as you can see with her age, I did wait a long while before, and I did know that that would be her name before I created her, and I did need to have a Khaleesi that had the title name, the Gorgeousness. And so when that time came, I finally went ahead and created the Gorgeousness. And so that's that being part of the story of this edition was part of was why I said that about and I also said that about how Khaleesi's were toned down. And so even Khaleesi Cynthia Mudgett, the Gorgeousness, was toned down. Of course, she was toned down. So, and even Khaleesi, my mom said, she was like, well, I was number 2 out of all of that. I must have been toned down quite a bit, because I was like, yeah, you just toned down quite a bit. You just toned down a lot. So she was like, because I've been looking at on Instagram, there's some Khaleesi's on there that I would say they finer than me. I was like, that's real shit, I was like, but yeah, you definitely right. You toned down quite a bit. She was like, but I'm seeing it. I was like, I seen, yeah, I know how you looking in the highest of highest. I'm telling you right there, you was toned down, and they just a little bit. So she was like, so it ain't just, I was like, nah. You would think that though, and that would make sense that because with you being the first woman that they gonna vote, off the strength of that in, your personality. But no, you. And so, I was like, nah, you deserving of what the Khaleesi voted, but what I say still remains. I don't. This my Khaleesi, like I said, one Khaleesi that you can't really rank no gorgeous. Her level of gorgeousness is so high, you can't rank no order what how you would place in no in no beauty pageant, but even between this Khaleesi's and y'all keeping it real with each other, like, yeah, you can't so of course I didn't give no vote. I even said that it could just be because I named it a Gorgeousness, and that give y'all a certain feel that y'all be like, damn, that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Y'all really might call yourself flirty, because y'all sure did off of like, oh, I voted for it. Like, damn, I'm like, it's always a whole lot of y'all talking about who y'all voted for. Like, yeah, even Khaleesi, my mom said, she was like, I ain't gonna lie, I voted for it too. I was like, you did? She was like, yeah, that was. She was like, she is beautiful. She is fine. Like, look, like, she better fly right there. So I laughed. So she, we started talking, and so I was like, okay, well, that obviously that's gonna come with me and her about to fuck, since they just did that vote, and I was like, well, I just waited on it though. So Khaleesi was like, no, she deserved that. So y'all deserve that. I was like, okay, we'll see. I guess we go ahead and fuck then. I was like, y'all act like y'all want to watch or something after y'all just did that vote. So that's how Khaleesi be keeping it real though. So see how that there's a lot you can take from that. The spice. Yeah, that with the 5, that was part of it that made it, to where it was like So, there's some things I did different. Me writing a lot of misleading, mystifying, and misdirection was necessary to bring spice to the experience. Telling, like how I told Khaleesi, that was the thing. I thought it was where I was just, but then I had even wrote that I would think that. But when I first, I was just like, hold on. Every time that there was a different time, and I'm sitting here thinking, telling myself like, oh, that was just where I just told you just so you could tell me what was around the room so that I would remember. I was like, what? Wouldn't I post that though? I was like, okay, so this is the final time. I'm gonna stop posting the arrivals. I was like, but every other arrival, if it was a different day and a different week, that was always that corresponded with a whole different timeline. But this time it don't. I was like, okay, so it was just where I just went back in time and just did something differently, but I did it on a different week, which I could have did that. And so of course that wasn't the case. It was a different timeline. And so yeah, there's spice, man. I mean, where misdirection to myself, to where I'm saying something that is not, it ends up being different on a whole different timeline. And so I even because that did kind of, I was like, man, but how did I write this? Because that's kind of throwing me off to where it's not really lining up as being something that I would do though, because it's like, I was like, man, it's like I'm lying. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, man, and that was the thing. So I had to get to, I was like, the only way that rationale where that, what I'm seeing going like from data, even on my end, where it would make sense to how I wrote that, it'd have to be that this ain't the first time, this ain't the only time doing it, man. And so I keep telling myself it is, and why would it be though? Even what I'm saying, 150 million, I mean, there's no reason why this would be our own first time playing it, just because I didn't hit my memory of it, of us ever playing it. I even said there was a previous edition. I didn't say that was the first. I didn't say it was the second, and the first one was, I said there was another one, this was my third time, but I never said, it wasn't really clear. I kept referring to that one as the previous and not the second. Why? Because the second, the number 2, that was what the rationale was, why I wasn't calling it the second edition, that was the previous. But I wouldn't call it this the third edition though. And I could have called this the third one and still called that one the previous, So that was one thing I kept going back to, and which was, why I would need to do it this way. It was like, well, I'm trying to mix it, like make it more fresh or different than I did in the past, or to make the experience better. Of course, with what Khaleesi's are experiencing, thinking, or saying, or talking to each other about, and how they talking about it, and it being different than how those goings on were on the other ones, was a big the difference that was going to make this the 100th edition more entertaining. And so that led to, and so to call it, I wouldn't say it is what it is. Just say it's misleading. It was intentional, and it was necessary. And so under that under that line of understanding and reasoning, then it wouldn't be considered a lie. So Khaleesi, it made you feel missed. I even thought the same thing though, like the during the moment experience though. But when those coming past and they don't last long, and then here it is the next day, and you ain't even doing a few hours later, it's like, yeah, I ain't even tripping. That's part of the mystifying too. That was part of the mystifying too though. Khaleesi was like, man, get us wait this long though. And then all these different times, like you had so many timelines. Why so many timelines though? And it keep making us think that it's going, and then it don't happen. It's like you keep getting let down. Why do that? It's like, no, that's just because you don't remember everything that happened on the other timeline. You ain't having that to draw from. You wouldn't even have no kind of feel like you anxious because them other timelines happened. You arrived, and it was over with from that point forward. It's just that you didn't get to keep that memory. So you anxious and ready for that arrival on this time, and to keep your memory and not have to have it hidden no more. And so, and we almost there. We ain't got there yet, and that's all it is. And so the Spice, When the Fake Bitches Failed, I did say that was on their first edition, not this previous edition. Toning down a level of beauty of some of my Khaleesi's more than others so that they can have a certain type of journey. I did speak on that again. And that's why I use that word afar more. And the other one, the numerous simulated pregnancies was part of the Spice. So there was Khaleesi's that said, you know, they always had where they just had one child, or, you know, they had two at the most. You know, and Khaleesi, you know, it was always like, you know, even how I wrote it would just be like, you know, to not have 3 or 4 or more. And so you see where you have Khaleesi that adopted kids that had, you know, several, you know, 5 to 10, you know, or Khaleesi that actually, you know, and at the time, you know, you through their life journey, you felt like it, thought you gave birth to them, you know, even though, you know, it was simulated and it was not real. It was not your real, you know. But of course, you know, under, you know, that was your real body. And so you still had that experience as if it were real, as if the you know, they were real pregnancies, and you had, you know, they were you know, you were giving birth to the children. And those are things that a lot of Khaleesi's wanted to make their experience on this 100th you know, different, you know, so much different in so many different ways than it was on their other the other editions of the Earth Matrix that they were on. And that was one of the ways that I did it, was through more of the simulated pregnancies, you know, for each Khaleesi. So, and also that did result in there being Khaleesi's that were, with, you know, and all that time I'm saying pregnant, quote unquote pregnant, you know, quote unquote pregnant. There was a lot of Khaleesi's that were quote unquote pregnant upon their arrival, and are now. And so that is why there were, you know, where I got, you know, most all Khaleesi's where once the revelation started, like you weren't where you just had a was pregnant. And, you know, there was a lot of, and that was another part of the Spice too, was that, well, I'll say and especially in the first few 5 or, you know, or more Earth Matrices that I did not interact with the T. Joneses, the simulated quote unquote friends, you know, the fake people as much once the revelation started, to where there was, you know, and I even talked to them on the phone, and one of them came over to the you know, and I talked to him in here, you know what I'm saying, at the room and shit. And motherfucker stayed over here, talked on the phone, was talking to some bitch on the phone, and he didn't know nothing about what was going on. It was like May, and it was all kind of post, but he knew what was going on when I had posted this shit, and it was not before I came, you know, and it wasn't April yet, you know, and then he didn't know what was going on, and I was just like, well, shit, you know, about Facebook, you know, and he was like, oh no, I ain't been on your page, you know, that's it. And then when he was talking to the bitch, he on his phone, and he on the phone, and he on a video call, and then he go like this and show her the red blank, and then I heard a little bitch say, is that that's that blanket, he talking about God. She was like, damn, so I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, so they say, shit, when you God, you know, he was like, I'm on that shit too, shit, I'm God. Some shit he said, some shit, like, I just in my head like, what the fuck? So the motherfucker left. It was funny, never see them again. So heard there was no call, nothing, you know what I'm saying? But motherfucker, I didn't even tell him to come over here. He just, and it was funny because I had the words written to where right when the motherfucker knocked on the door, I was like, and this motherfucker, I mean, it's funny because it's like, you know, no. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, right when I said that, he knocked on it. Like, he could have heard what I said. I was like, damn, did you hear what I said? You just, I ain't missing the motherfucker about nothing. And then he knocked on the show. So that was last May. But anyway, you know, and I talked to one of the Sims, you know, for about an hour, over an hour. It was like 2 hours, man, because the motherfucker just kept talking. So I just kept letting it going because I was trying to see if a motherfucker was ever gonna say something about what was going on, and he didn't. And the call, it was 2 hours and 2 minutes. I was like, I ain't never talked to that motherfucker that long ever. I was like, how was that even? And it was just like, and I mean, if I wrote every word he did, and it came out to 2 hours and 2 minutes, that was just 2 G's. I was like, man. You know, so shit like that, it was shit that I, you know, interacting with the Sims. I mean, I'm sure I fed the vultures on a different, you know, where I went to door, but it just, other than that, like the Sims that was teaching, like people that knew me from, you know, I was hiding my memory, and, you know, it was just going on as, you know, that as if they were, you know, and they're not real, but I'd say it like that. And then of course, after the, you know, getting through these times, you know, being more than one timeline and getting this far, and then there still not being no reaction that make any level of logical sense from people that would have any kind of real consciousness on, you know, coming from them in any kind of way, you know, anywhere I go, you know, as of course they not saying the goo as much as they were, and it don't change nothing. It's, you know, looking, seeing, and understand, you know, that they not real though, you know what I'm saying. But it was you know, it was throwed. It was very strange. But it was just what a month ago. I was in the Waterburger, and the motherfucker, I was looking at the phone. I said, "What's up, man?" I said something. He looked. And he said, he smiled. And he said, "Goo." I was like, 2G ass nigga. I was sitting there like right how I was sitting. He was like right there, but he's sitting down at the Waterburger. I was walking by, so he looked up, and I just said, "What's up, man?" Cool. And so, you know, so I ain't noticed it in a while though. I mean, but like I said, that's been what, about a month and a half ago, 2 months. That was just one that stood out though, man. Let me see, 2 hours and 11 minutes. Okay, my colleagues had already arrived. Spice. 100th edition. Okay. God, the light, the first light, the indefinite, the question mark in the answer, and I am the reasons we here. How do I create the people in my visuals and movies to be and have a real life? The answer, I know. I just ain't got around to it yet. I just ain't figured it out yet. But I know if I keep thinking about it, I can figure something out. So the fact that there's no time, you know, and I could just keep thinking and keep thinking, you know, eventually I know, you know, there's like night now being different than later on, you know, like, oh, well, I don't know now. So, you know, I could say something, be like, well, I don't know right now, but I mean, I do know though, I know. I just ain't got to yet. And I wrote and scripted, you know, because I could script visuals, you know, that I would see, you know. I could create light shows of visuals. And I say see, I see them like as you know, I'm looking at like you could say a picture, like a hologram or picture show as a visual, kind of like, you know, a projector is projecting on, you know, a surface, even though you wouldn't say it's a surface, but you know, I'm actually creating the visuals, kind of, you know, like painting them, but in light, to where it's You know, like I said, I could actually see, you know, the people, you know, I have, you know, create the appearance of people's, you know, faces, you know, and how angels would look, and appearance and everything, and how they, you know, like how angels look now, not just, you know, flat or like a rudimentary representation of what people would be in some type of visual, like water paint, waterworks or something like that. No, I mean like a picture of how you looking at a movie right now in a 4K presentation of a movie, a cinema, you know, whether in any kind of format you want to call it. You know, you're looking at it on a flat screen TV, creating a visual that looks like that, except for I don't need a TV to do it. I'm doing it. I'm creating a whole movie to play out, and I'm watching it before I create a space. That's what I'm talking about. So I just make sure make that perfectly clear what exactly I meant. And so when I say that I had on the highest of highest, or not the highest of highest heaven, just highest of highest heaven, highest of highest heaven. My colleagues, they asked me, was I in your movies? And I said yes, and I show them a movie. That's how I do it, just like how I did it then. Except of course now I got a body in my, you know, my Khaleesi, my queen, that was, you know, she was in my movies, you know, with her saying with the voice that is similar to what, you know, the name I had given her, you know, that she had in the movies, even though she wasn't alive, you know, of course, in the movies, you know, it was just a movie. But, you know, I could say, you know, that, hey, you know, there wasn't no time then, you know. And like I said, I knew, and there wasn't no time, so I just hadn't got around to it yet. And I wrote and scripted voices to say, you know, so I'd be like, so I even add, like, so, because, you know, you thinking, so, you know, even when you think to yourself, you know, I say, how do I create the people? So if I did do that, how would they sustain is what I'm thinking, you know. And, you know, and I could create them individuals, you know, and to talk, but how would they talk and speak on their own and have their own body, you know, and be able to do, you know, live out, you know, act, and we can talk to each other like how we talk to each other in the movies, and keep doing that. And they do that from their own self, you know. How would they have to be conscious, be able to do what I do, be, you know, alive and live and have their own separate life, have their own life. And so, you know, I would say these things out loud, and the answers, you know, I would script voices to say, you know, it would say, you know. So I was like, I do? I know. And so, you know, yeah, you know. Like, yeah, it's like, man, if I can keep hearing, you know, then I'll be like, yeah, I know, because I was like, man, I'm kind of stumped, you know. I'm like, man, it seemed like I was getting close, and then, you know, it just like I done backtracked a little bit, you know. Like, man, script, I'll make this. So I have a whole lot. I was like, you know, like, yeah, you know, we all know you, yeah, you know, we. You know, so I even have a script that's like, yeah, we all depending on you, man. You gotta do it. Can't nobody else do it. Can't nobody else make us real with you, man. I'm like, yeah, so, you know, as a women voice, it's like, we've been waiting on you for so long. You can do it, you know. You know, so they fade off. And, so those, you know, those I know, and those you knows went on for, you know, a while. And So the question mark and the answer, the titles for God.